More and more teenagers are drinking these days, and more of them are drinking to get drunk. Some of these teenagers will become very young alcoholics. Too young? Alcoholism is a disease. It can strike anyone, young or old, male or female, rich or poor. In fact, some cold hard statistics on alcohol use by teenagers today are 70% of all teenagers drink to some extent. These figures are even higher on the East and West Coast, 90%. 1 out of 7 of these will become alcoholics. This means that 225 of Minichog's 1,576 students will become or are alcoholics. But these numbers still don't relate to you the tragic effect that alcohol has on these teenagers' lives. So we'd like you to meet some recovered alcoholics, get to know them, their problems, and their shattered hopes and dreams. Alcoholism affects different people in different ways. The 3 reformed alcoholics you are about to meet, we feel, represent different degrees of severity of this disease, and thus each has a different story to tell on how alcoholism affected their lives. Even though the details of their stories may differ, the underlying fact is they are all addicted to the #1 drug in America today, alcohol. This is Jackie. To an outsider, it would have seemed that his life was going strong. He finished high school and went on to college. However, his close friends tagged him with a reputation which bothered him deeply.
In going through high school, I was getting kind of a reputation as a burnout and a waste. We all know what that is. It's someone who seems to be, just existing. I was going through the motions of school, never really learning too much, just trying to get by and not flunk out. It certainly seemed like a drinking world, and I wanted to find my place in it, my niche in the drinking world. And I went looking for it on weekends mostly, and I didn't drink every weekend in the beginning. I wasn't really a violent drunk or anything. I did have a personality change. I wasn't timid or shy, but when I did drink, my carefree and easygoingness turned into more of not caring about anything, especially anything important to me, like my family, who were the backbone of my confidence and really had a lot of faith in me, that I let down an awful lot. I wouldn't know how to conduct myself if I wasn't looking forward to drinking. Like whenever any event was happening, like a concert or something, it was the quality of it was determined on whether it was a good buzz or not. And anything like this that happened, like say a vacation, the highlights in storytelling when I was with my friends would be to tell them stories about how drunk I got. And whenever I drank, now it was predetermined that at the end of the night I would be drunk. And this was something that I didn't want to do. I wanted to drink socially, like some of the role models I had in my life. I couldn't see any way out. And I couldn't picture myself without drinking, because this was what I could see as a real friend that I had, because whenever things would go wrong, relief was just a few beers away. And actually it was just 1 beer away, because that would set up the drunk. It's an old adage that was really true in my case, that I took the first drink, the drink took the second drink, and the third drink took me. And I continued drinking, and then it would occur to me that this isn't the way I wanted to look, and I'd see myself in the mirror and say, "You're drunk again." And I continued drinking, and never did I get any more of a higher drunk or a lower drunk. It was just, it was more of a detriment to me than anything. And in the beginning, when I could find that glow a little bit and things in the world seemed all right, that kept on fading away as I drank more. And again, I didn't drink every day. It was only on special occasions or on weekends. And I tried to get things done in school. And I worked at a supermarket, and I didn't show up to work drunk, but after work was over and I had my work done, I considered it, a right that I had to drink, because I had worked hard and I owed it to myself to drink hard. That was my attitude. I really liked the idea of drinking, but I didn't really like what drinking did to me, because it let me down. It wasn't living up to my expectations that I had of drinking.
This is Dave. You could probably call him a middle-of-the-road alcoholic. He had a lot going for him before he started drinking at age 13. He was doing fairly well in school and even had a basketball scholarship to a Catholic high school. Once he started drinking, though, school was no longer an important part of his life. He was rejected by his family and was arrested numerous times for minor offenses. Meet Dave.
When I first started having problems was when I was drinking in school, I started slacking off on my studies. I didn't want to do that anymore. And that was right away, I was drinking more and I wasn't doing the things I was supposed to do, My mother, she was pretty lenient with me. She let me drink. She used to buy me some beer, in fact, when I was 14, and every day if I wanted it. She was not a drinker herself, so she didn't realize it, And getting drunk with my friends every day before we go to school, lunchtime, find somebody to buy us booze or whatever. I was more or less a shy person, I guess, and drinking gave me a way of getting out of myself, talking to people, asking girls out, whatever, more or less just to be part of the crowd, That's why I couldn't see my alcoholism, because I put myself around people who were just like me, or what I figured they were lower than me, so I wasn't that bad yet, but really I was, Friends of mine told me I had a problem with drinking, but I just laughed it off. They said, you're an alcoholic, and I said, I laughed it off. I said, whatever, And I didn't think I had a problem, All this trouble I used to get in, it was only when I was drinking, and it used to be, different. If it wasn't for this girlfriend or that, something went wrong. If I fell down or something, if I tripped, I'd blame it on, what I tripped over. It wasn't because I was drinking. I wouldn't, If I wasn't drinking, this wouldn't have happened, I didn't, I blamed other things, everything but drinking, and drinking was the real problem I know now, And I tried drinking every which way, drinking wine, drinking whiskey, drinking beer. I tried to control it for a while, and I couldn't control it. That didn't work.
This is Mark. He probably had the most serious problems as a result of drinking. At 9 years old, alcohol helped shape the values which carried him throughout his adolescent life. School was merely a place to go to drink and hang out. He was constantly in serious trouble with the law. He spent much of his adult life in jail for offenses such as check forgery and assault.
Well, when you say every 5 minutes want to go to the bathroom and then hit your locker and open it up and you have a package store in your locker, that would make a lot of saying, school's too much, when you're waiting in the parking lot, meeting everybody, partying up, going in school late. It got to a point where I said, I don't want school no more, and this was at the age of 15. I just walked out. And then that's where the drinking really started coming in for me, because I was drinking every day. But I had a habit, when I was living with my family, is to wake up in the morning, roll over, light up a joint, and have a beer. And this got to be a thing for me, I had to do it all the time, and if I didn't have money for beer, I'd steal for it. Mostly I drank because I couldn't face people unless I was drunk. That's the way I thought. I couldn't be in a crowd unless I was drunk. I couldn't talk to this person, that person, unless I was drinking or had a buzz. It was just a natural thing. I couldn't face nobody unless I had a buzz. I didn't want to be with a girl unless I had a buzz. And I was going with this girl, and I couldn't go with this girl unless I drank about 3 or 4 beers. I don't know why that was. I just had to have a buzz to even look at her. This was going on with me for a long time. Then after that went out, I ended up in jail for a few times. I ended up in jail because of booze. I did a few B&Es, and I didn't think that was nothing. So they gave me a year. I got out. And then I met up with this friend of mine, a real good friend of mine, and I was with this girl, and he gave me these pills, and I did them. They were some kind of tranquilizers. I don't know what they were to this day, but I did these and drank, and I was nuts. And we were camping out in the woods, and I went up to the woods, and I was punching trees. The next morning I woke up, my hands were huge. Then I went to my mother's house, and I took an axe to my mother. Now this is under the influence and under the pills. I took an axe to my mother, and they called cops. 4 cops tried to get me down and swing the axe at them. 2 more came in, and they knocked me on my ass. And I got 2 years for this. My mother didn't press charges, the cops did. So when I was there that night in the jail waiting to get bailed out, whatever, this cop came in to me and he said to me, told you you're having problems, ain't you? You know, we didn't want to help you. You didn't want to help yourself before. He says, you got your phone? I said, I got a phone call, can I make it? And I called up my mother and I says, put up the house and get me out of jail. She said, no way. And after I hung up and I was mad because she wouldn't help me, the cop says, I told you, your parents ain't gonna take care of you no more. And I looked at him and I spit at him.
Although the specific details of their experiences with alcohol were unique in each of their cases, Jackie, Dave, and Mark seem to substantiate some problems common to all alcoholics.
And my mother was yelling at me. But then I moved away from my mother, and that wasn't any more my reason for drinking because my mother wasn't around. And then I drank because things were going rough sometimes, and things weren't going rough at the end of my drinking. Things were going good, and then
I think I had to learn the hard way, you know. I had to go through these things in order to realize I had a problem, you know. And it's hard for somebody to realize that they got a problem, you know, and that in which when they get into trouble, they, you know, don't blame it on things or people or places, you know. It's, you know, the problem is you know, you got to look at it that way.
It's a disease. Alcoholism is a disease. A lot of people ain't aware of it. It takes a lot you have to go through before you admit it. You just have to get hurt enough to come forward and tell somebody you are an alcoholic.